coverage you can count on. KOMU 8 News starts now.
A federal bill to protect same-sex and interracial marriage moves forward. 12 Senate Republicans sided with every Democrat to pass the initial vote. Good evening, I'm Taylor Freeman. Thank you so much for joining us. The bill still needs to pass a final vote later this month before it heads to Biden's desk. KOMU 8's Matt McCabe joins us now after speaking with local LGBTQ groups about this legislation. Matt.
Congress picked up speed with its agenda to write these protections into federal law after the overturn of Roe v. Wade. It passed the House this summer with the support of 47 House Republicans. And despite the bill needing to travel a bit further before becoming law, members of Mid-Missouri's LGBTQ community are optimistic.
The yeas are 62, the nays are 37.
The U.S. Senate is stepping closer to cementing federal protections for same-sex and interracial marriage. Recent changes like the newly added Religious Liberty Amendment won the legislation enough support to pass a 60-vote threshold. Polls show a majority of Americans support codifying same-sex marriage. MU law student Brandon Bethel is the outgoing president of an LGBTQ law group. He somewhat expected the growing support.
I also don't think it's like the most hot button issue as it sits today. It is, and it has been in the past, but we've made a lot of progress.
He thinks more politicians are likely to support sending the bill to Biden's desk. Janet Davis, the president of Mid-Missouri Pride Fest, takes every chance to celebrate these advances.
I'm excited. I'm extremely hopeful. I always say this when I'm talking about anything that comes to law is that we've come so far.
The movement has come far and now only needs to push past one final vote. Today's vote passed by a narrow margin of 62, which is 2 more votes than were needed. One of those votes, of course, being Roy Blunt. His office released this statement, which in part reads that he believes it's better for Congress to clarify these issues than for federal judges. In the studio, Matt McCabe, KOMU 8 News.
All right, thanks, Matt. In other news coming out of the U.S. Senate, Republican senators re-elected Mitch McConnell as minority leader today. The Kentucky senator had a challenger for the first time in 15 years. McConnell won over Florida Senator Rick Scott 37 to 10 to 1. Missouri Senator Josh Hawley was one of the 10 who voted against McConnell. Hawley disagrees with some in the Republican Party that Trump is a reason some Republican candidates lost in the midterms.
I think Senator McConnell's view is that Trump is largely to blame, and that Republicans have an image problem because of Trump. I have to say that I don't agree with that.
Yesterday, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy won re-election for his position. Democrat Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says his party's election will be held December 8th. The Missouri Health and Senior Services Department is warning families there's been an increase in respiratory viruses. That includes the flu and RSV. KOMU 8's Vasi Prokos spoke with a family medicine physician about the warning. Vasi.
The state health department reports that there were 500 more confirmed cases of the flu during the week of October 30th than the week before. And in Boone County, there was a jump in flu cases, with 6 cases during the first week of October to 88 cases last week. The health department says viruses are on the rise, especially in children. An MU doctor says children are making up a large portion of clinic visits.
Our emergency rooms are full of kids who are coughing and needing deep suctioning. MU Healthcare has put into place some specific measures this fall to try to deal with that volume and to make sure that our clinics aren't overwhelmed.
The Missouri Health and Senior Services Department added a map of all their testing sites. Currently, there are no testing sites in Missouri. In the studio, Vasi Prokos, KOMU 8 News.
All right, thanks, Vasi. While respiratory diseases like RSV and the flu have been sending patients to hospitals, COVID has not. COVID-related deaths and hospitalizations declined in recent months. Data compiled by NBC News says the 7-day average for COVID deaths is down by more than 200 since August 31st. Experts say this could be a sign of a new phase of the pandemic where fewer people who contract COVID are sick enough to be hospitalized.
Well, it's another cold day in central Missouri. Cloud cover continuing to build into the region, just like we were expecting this afternoon. Temperatures in the 20s and 30s. We did make it to the 30s this afternoon, but we've now fallen to 29 in Fayette, Mexico, Fulton, Columbia, 28 in Moberly, 32 down in Jefferson City. The wind chill is what's noticeable, though. Those winds a lot breezier today, so it feels like 17 in Moberly and Columbia, 18 in Mexico. A little balmy down at Osage Beach, where it feels like 25. We're dropping to those low 20s overnight, feeling like the teens to kick off our day. 41 tomorrow afternoon, feeling like 33 degrees. Those winds pick up. Can't rule out a stray sprinkle or a flurry tomorrow, but then we get cold, and much colder at that. We'll talk about it coming up in just a few minutes. Taylor.
All right, thanks, Matt. Senator-elect and State Attorney General Eric Schmidt lost a lawsuit today against a Jefferson City massage business. A Cole County judge ordered the Attorney General's office to pay the court costs for Blue Lotus Asian Massage. Schmidt sued the business last year, claiming the owner facilitated prostitution in the workplace. A Cole County judge ruled Schmidt's office did not provide enough evidence to support that claim. And world leaders are reacting to the death of 2 Polish people after a stray missile in the Russian-Ukrainian conflict across the border. Photos from Polish police show a crater next to an overturned vehicle on the Polish-Ukrainian border. Officials say the explosion killed 2 at a grain factory. NATO leaders, including those for Poland, say the incident was not likely a deliberate Russian attack. However, the NATO Secretary General says the Kremlin is still ultimately responsible for the incident because it is waging the war in Ukraine. U.S. officials are backing Ukraine with weapons and diplomatic support as the war nears the end of its 8th month.
Whatever the final conclusions may be, the world knows that Russia bears ultimate responsibility for this incident.
NATO allies across Western Europe are calling for support to Ukraine. Estonia's prime minister says military aid is crucial to ending the war.
The prescription is to give Ukraine as much as military aid as we can give so that Ukraine can defend themselves and push the aggressor back to their borders. This is the only way so that Ukraine will win.
The Czech Republic's foreign minister says world leaders should consider taking further action in order to hold Russia accountable.
To establish a special tribunal on a crime of aggression would be a clear message to Russian leadership that they are accountable for what they are doing in Ukraine.
The U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff chairman says the missile that hit Poland is a war crime, and Russia will likely never reach its goals in Ukraine. Free or reduced lunch programs have vanished for some Columbia public school children. Find out how the people in the community are stepping up to help. And the University of Virginia mourns as school officials and coaches decide how to move forward.
Another cold day in mid-Missouri. Our high was 34 degrees or 20 degrees below average. We'll warm up a tiny bit tomorrow before a cold front arrives. We're tracking the wind chills with that cold front coming up.
Right there, you're taking a live look over downtown Columbia. This is KOMU 8 News at 5, coverage you can count on.